All right. So hello everyone and welcome to the AMA with Superworld. Now, just like the name suggests, a little bit of a pun here. I am super excited to be hosting today's session. I am honestly loving what they're all about. I did have a chance as I was doing in my preparations for today's session to kind of go through the depth, engage with it myself, and it is looking very clean. So I am more than ready to be having an awesome conversation on today's AMA. Now, for those of you that didn't have a chance to check them out already, just going to proceed with a little bit of an introduction from my side, a little bit of the basics before we hand over the microphone to the CEO here. So Superworld is essentially transforming how people interact with the world around them, offering you a virtual world mapped onto the real world where anyone can personalize the world around them with content, recommendations, events. Basically, the sky is the limit, right? So in today's session, you'll get all the useful information on how to get started, creating your world, making offers on properties available to be bought, leveling up as you're engaging on the platform. And then, of course, we're also going to be throwing the token into the mix as well, considering it's crucial not only on the platform, but also in the entire ecosystem. So a little bit of a spoiler alert here, many use cases and therefore many benefits as well. Now, before handing over the microphone to the team here, just wanted to drop a kind reminder for their pre-sale. So it's already live, started today at 1 p.m. UTC. If you're interested in contributing to the sale, you of course can find the link to it on the AMA announcement, which we did forward in our main chat once again. And if you're going to have any additional questions, even though we're going to try to keep it as community focused as possible, do make sure to join your Telegram just so the team can get you sorted with, once again, anything else that you might want to know here. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me. It is a pleasure to have you here. Now for starters, if you don't mind providing a little bit of background information about yourself, and then feel free to just tie it together to the idea behind Superworld. So how everything got started, a little bit of a rundown regarding the DApp, use cases, basically everything that you want the listeners to know. And then we're going to continue the discussion with some topics and, of course, questions from my side as well. So thank you very much. And the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Sure. Thank you. So I'll go ahead and start and give you all my background, just so you understand, what my experience is and a bit of the origin story as well of how we started Superworld. And then I'll go into what Superworld is and our vision, so you can understand what we are building, as well as the traction that we've already received, and just more ins and outs of the token and what we're hoping to achieve with the token launch, and how you can get involved. So with that said, let me start by just kind of going through my background. So first and foremost, I'm a digital nomad. I live around the world. Every year or so, I live in different cities around the world. I actually do this with my family. So with my wife and 2 kids. I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. Just to give you a sense of the travel, my 10-year-old's already lived in 30 countries. So, we love the world, love travel, cultures, languages, people. And the reason I mention it right off the top of the explanation is because that's what Superworld's about. Superworld's about getting to know the world around you, experiencing the world, being able to create content in real world locations, discover content from anywhere, and being able to monetize in real world locations. What we're building is a virtual world mapped on top of Earth. I always say, have 2 kids, the last thing I want to do is suck them into a virtual world. And what makes Superworld different is Superworld's about your real life. It's about real places, places to go, restaurants, hotels. Maybe it's going and seeing content in a real world location. So it's about real world stuff that we have all around us, as well as the idea of what if we could all of us together, build and own a decentralized virtual world that can positively impact Earth and humanity. So I always say the world needs Superworld. It's like the world needs Superman or Superwoman. The world needs Superworld. So that's our vision. My background is I was born in India. I grew up in the United States. I started off my career in management consulting. I got into investment banking. I worked on Wall Street. I was at UBS and HSBC in New York. Started off in physical real estate. I joke by saying physical real estate because I didn't know that one day in the future I would, help create a category called virtual real estate. But that's what we're doing at Superworld. But I come from the physical real estate world and know that very well. Then I got into HSBC and I was doing mergers and acquisitions there. and then venture capital in New York. I work for a very well-known investor named Adam Stern. Adam's one of our investors at Superworld, and he's one of my close friends. So I learned a lot about the business from him. And then about 15 years ago, I had this crazy idea, which was, wouldn't it be cool to go somewhere in the emerging markets and start a venture capital fund? So I got on a plane, didn't know anyone. I went to Ukraine, Russia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, and Moldova in 2009. It took me about a year and a half, but I ended up starting a venture capital fund in Ukraine, backed by Viktor Pinchuk. Victor, if you haven't heard of his name, he's one of the most influential people in that part of the world. He backed me in starting a fund along with two other partners. We invested in about 25 companies in the region. Preply is one of our companies. They're now the largest online tutoring marketplace in the world. You might have taken like a Spanish tutoring class or something through them. But very popular service. We wrote the first check to Preply. We also did Promo Republic and several other companies. But then I also ended up doing the same thing in Belarus. I'm on the board of Tech Minsk, which is backed by the U.S. State Department and Google. There's a company that Facebook acquired called MSQRD. And MSQRD went through Tech Minsk and got acquired by Facebook. And MSQRD provides all of the augmented reality face filters for Instagram and Facebook. So I had early exposure to augmented reality through that. And then after that, became an early employee, first biz dev at TopTal. TopTal is a talent marketplace backed by Andreessen Horowitz. It's now the #1 talent marketplace in the world. It's a unicorn company. So I learned a lot about how to grow and scale a marketplace and a platform. And then before Superworld, I co-founded Rogue Initiative Studios, which is a film, television, gaming, and immersive studio in Los Angeles. My co-founder produced Call of Duty, Modern Warfare series, and Ghost, the video game. And my partner is Michael Bay, the action director. He's known for Transformers, The Island, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, Bad Boys. And so at Rogue Initiative, what we do is we build new franchises across feature film, television, gaming, immersive content, all the way to amusement park rides and toys. And what I learned from that is a Michael Bay movie like Transformers and Call of Duty, the game, are really the same thing. They're built in an engine, Unreal Engine, Unity Engine. As you guys know, you can build anything you want in a gaming engine. I'm sure you've seen some very realistic content that actually is just a game, but it's actually looks like real life. And, so when you see a Transformers movie or Call of Duty game, they're just using these engines to create all this content, right? And what happened was about 9 years ago, there was a game called Pokemon Go that came out. People are running around trying to capture Pokemon. I'm sure you saw people running around with their phones, kind of looking at these, digital objects and clicking and trying to catch them, right? And me and my co-founder, his name is Max Woon. Max and I actually know each other because we work together on the YouTube platform. So we know YouTube in and out. And Max's background is Max co-founded Xfire and sold it to Viacom, but he's also done Fizzle, Sliver, Skit, and Toonstar, all venture-backed companies. Sliver and Toonstar are also in the immersive space. And then previously he worked with Stephen Hawking at Cambridge. So, very smart guy. He and I worked together, as I mentioned, on the YouTube platform, and we saw Pokemon Go come out, and we thought, you know what? Why does that have to be about Pokemon? Why can't that be about your business? Why can't that be about the not-for-profit you're supporting? Why can't that be about your favorite sports team? Why can't that be about the favorite places you like to travel? In other words, how could I enable you or anyone to be able to create content in real-world locations, to enable anyone to discover content from anywhere, and to enable anyone to monetize in real world locations? Effectively, how can I enable you to build a virtual world mapped onto Earth? So you have a world, I have a world, brands have worlds. And then what we did was we divided Earth into 64 billion blocks. Each block is a city block covering Earth. Each block's about 0.01 ETH. So it's about, $35 or so in today's prices. And if you own a plot of Superworld at that location, you earn across advertising, e-commerce, digital commerce, data, gaming, analytics, DeFi, anything that monetizes there. across every filter of the world, my world, your world, anyone's world. And so to be clear, your world is like a map. So you have a map of the world, like a Google map, right? And if I interact in your map digitally or physically, you benefit from my interactions. And you can do anything anywhere in the world on your map. You can add recommendations to places to go. I'm sure everyone's been asked, "Hey, I'm coming to your city. Where should I go? Where should I go out to eat? Where should I stay?" So, you can add all those recommendations. You could add content to your map, phygital content that has a digital and a physical interaction. You can, again, add content about your business. You have a map where you can do anything you want anywhere, and it could be all of those things combined, right? And I do too, and there's an unlimited number of them. But if you own a location, you earn from everyone's map at that location. So we've generated about $5.2 million in revenue already. Our average paying user spends around $1,500 on the platform. And effectively, we're enabling people to personalize the world around them and be able enable their audience to interact in all of those real world places and to benefit from those interactions. So I'll stop there, but I think we can go into more detail with questions, and I can go into more explanation of the product.
Absolutely. Just wanted to say thank you very much for the rundown here. You did a phenomenal job. And what I think makes the most sense for us to continue with, considering you were just talking about, let's say global support, what you can actually do there. It just brings me to the question with how things are currently looking. If this is, of course, information that you have on hand, I was very much curious to know as far as, let's say, where the most engagement currently is, as far as maybe country or just a specific area is, as far as now goes. If you can share that, I'm more than interested.
Yeah, what's really cool is people really are interested in places all over the world. And so when I ask someone, what are places where you bought in the world, and if they've bought real estate, virtual real estate in Superworld, they tell me a story of their life. They tell me where they grew up, maybe where they went to school, where they went to university, where they live, where they have a business, maybe where they got married. They're telling me all of these places that mean something to them, that tell a story that's very important to them. And they go and they buy those places. Each one's about, as I said, around $35. So very accessible to anyone. And when you own a place, now it's yours, and you can reprice that to whatever you want. You earn at that location across everyone's filter of the world. And you become a stakeholder in Superworld at that location. And so back to your question, people really buy all over the world. And so when you look at the Superworld map, I mean, there are places where there's concentration. So major cities, New York, LA, London, Miami, Dubai, Singapore, there are more concentrations in bigger cities. But, even people buy in the center of the Atlantic Ocean, and people wonder what's over there. And it's where the the Titanic went down, right? And so why would someone buy where the Titanic went down? It's because they're probably interested in history, and they want to add content about the Titanic in their world, and maybe historical content related to the Titanic, right? So the point is that the use cases could be literally anything, and there's an unlimited layers of the world, right? Or filters of the world. And so every one of those filters or layers could have to do with some other topic. And so people acquire all over the world.
Perfect. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, it is something, at the end of the day, I know that I already mentioned in the introduction here, but it's not just something that offers, let's say, you as a user benefits, but it's also, it is very, very engaging, right? It's something I probably spent like 15 or 20 minutes directly on the dApp to just, prepare myself a little bit. And I was instantly hooked, right? So even after the AMA, I most likely am going to dive a little bit more into the platform here because it's just, it's clean, it's engaging, and I absolutely love it. So it just brings me to the question for clarity purposes. I know that you mentioned if we continue the discussion with, let's say either land, maybe specific properties that a user would be interested in buying. You mentioned it would be $35, right? So in this instance, something that I already have open here, so the last property that I ultimately viewed, I think it was the University Hall, right? So the listing price here also being 0.01 Ethereum. So it just brings me to the question as we start talking about, if we just say properties specifically, right? If those properties all have the same starting price, or is this something that kind of differs regarding on the offers that the property would be getting, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so anything unpurchased is sold for 0.01 Ether, right? So it's anything that's not been purchased is at price. If you bought a property, let's say you bought University Hall or wherever you're saying, you can then reprice that to whatever price you want because you're the owner of it, and you might value that for a certain level, and maybe that other people would also value that who want to acquire that property. So you can, literally for $35, start acquiring real world locations, reprice those to whatever you want. But unpurchased, each location is 0.01. Now, let me clarify something that's very important, because a lot of people don't understand virtual real estate. They're like, wait, why would you buy virtual real estate? What does it do? How does it work? And let me explain this. So let's say I'll give you a use case. I'll give you the travel use case for Superworld. So let's say I'm coming to your city. Let's say it's Dubai, okay? And I'm coming to Dubai and I ask you, hey, where should I go out to eat? What restaurant, what hotels do you recommend I stay at? What events are happening this week? I'm sure all of you have that question. Either someone asks you that question about where you're from, or when you go and travel somewhere, that's like one of the first questions that you have. Like, what should I do this week? Where should I go out to eat? Where do locals recommend that I do things, right? And again, I'm just giving you the travel example, but what you can do in Superworld is you can, if for example, I asked you that question right now, and, and I said I was coming to Dubai next week, just to be clear, you'd probably send me some links, right? You'd send me some Google Map links. You'd send me some Instagram links, you'd send me some website links, and you'd send me some text, right? And the problem with that is all of those businesses that you're recommending have no idea that you're recommending them. They're not giving you any points or any monetization. They don't even know that you're recommending them. And you're probably doing it over and over again, right? Because you love those places. Also, I am probably going to go to some of those places. I'm asking you what to do. You're a local, you're my friend, and you're telling me what to do. I'm probably going to go to something you recommend, maybe a few things. I might even spend $1,000 at a hotel, right? Getting a hotel room. And the problem is you have no idea what I end up doing. So you don't even know what I do. And you, again, are not monetizing or benefiting from my interactions with all those recommendations. And then thirdly, I don't benefit from clicking on any of your links, your Instagram links, your website links, your Google Map links. I don't benefit. I might as well go to Expedia or booking.com and maybe I get some points. And the solution that we've built, and I'm just giving you the travel example here, is you could say, Rish, just check out my world. And you send me a link, I click on it. I go to a map, a Google map. We're built on Google. And I start interacting on your map. I look at a hotel, maybe I check out a restaurant, I check out their menu, maybe I make a table reservation or hotel reservation. So I interact digitally on your map. And as I interact on your map, you're monetizing from my interactions. You're benefiting from those interactions, right? Digitally or physically. So I physically go to that restaurant and I physically check in, or I physically go to a hotel and I check in. And so those digital or physical interactions benefit you, right? And by the way, if I love some of your recommendations, I can go click, 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 and those recommendations go onto my world. And then my friend's like, hey, Rish, I'm coming to Dubai. Where should I go? And I'm like, oh, just check out my world. He goes onto my map and he digitally and physically interacts with those places. I benefit from that, but you benefit as well because I pulled it from your world. So that's how it works in terms of monetization and benefits, right? This is about real world businesses, real world places. It's about real world activity at those locations. Now, if there's a location that you love, maybe it's like, you know what, I think Dubai Mall is really a very important area. Maybe you spend a lot of time there. Maybe you always recommend people to go there. So you're like, I'm gonna buy Dubai Mall, and so you buy the area where Dubai Mall is in Superworld, right? It's a block, 100 meter by 100 meter block. You might have to buy a couple of them, for example, if you wanted to get the whole thing. But you buy that, you own it, and what that means now is you earn from everyone's map at that location. So from my map, from your map, from other people you don't even know who are recommending the Dubai Mall, you're benefiting from their interactions because you own the location. So that's how virtual real estate works, is it's a way for you to become a stakeholder in a location that you love, you care about, and you benefit from everyone's activity at that location across everyone's map or world. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I did just want to say it definitely makes sense, and especially with all the examples that you provided as well. So thank you so much. I do have two follow-ups here, if you don't mind, before we continue. So first thing that just brings me to the question, as we're talking about, monetization, and of course, the fact that I do remember everyone starts off with level 1. Then as you're engaging, as everyone is, of course, viewing your recommendations, maybe events are taking place there. So everything that has to do with this, let's say, whole package, you're obviously getting more levels, well, points to then ultimately level up. So what I was curious to know here, as you're, let's say, reaching certain milestones. So for instance, let's say I started off with level 1, then I level up to level 2, for instance. Do certain milestones, or maybe as you progress to an additional level, maybe you're reaching the maximum cap, which I believe is level 10 here, if there's any incentives, so additional ones, because obviously we're just talking about incentives as of now, but as you're reaching milestones, as you're leveling up, if there's any extra benefits for you that would really encourage you to use it to the maximum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so basically what we've done is we've gamified real life, right? So the gaming mechanisms that you'd see in a game, in a video game, we've brought those to real life events, locations, places to go, things to do. And so as you do things, as you interact in real world locations, you're benefiting. You're getting points. You're getting our token as a reward. You're able to benefit from recommendations you're making. You can, again, benefit from content that you're creating in a real world location. And so as you get these points and you level up to higher levels of points, you're able to benefit from other such rewards, right? The rewards that you're getting, there's potential multipliers. There's vanity metrics of being having the most active property, and then that translates into monetization, because the monetization comes from the activity that's happening on your real estate or in your world, which is your map. And so you could think of these levels as ways to track what's actually happening in different areas of the world, maybe that you own, or in your world, which is your map of the earth, and be able to benefit when people interact in those places. So you can kind of track that activity through those points.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Now, as we were having this conversation here, I am more than excited, to be honest, because I am a huge food guy. So at the end of the day, I already have quite a lot of, let's say, instances that you just mentioned, like 10 or 15 minutes ago as well, where I would, of course, like to, for the recommendations for the food that I like to eat. I definitely see it something that I would also incorporate in my world, for recommendation purposes. So yeah, super excited. I'm going to dive into this after the AMA session myself as well, even deeper, I'm going to say. So thank you so much for this. And throughout that, before we continue to the community questions, just so we can cover some of the token holder benefits as well. And I know that this is something we already kind of started to talk about specifically regarding the monetization process as you are, of course, buying either properties, land, as people are engaging, as you're engaging with the recommendations. So that would obviously be a huge part of it. But if we also do a little bit of a rundown for other utilities, other token holder benefits, because, you know, there's a lot of things that we can also talk about here. I was also interested to know specifically regarding the DAO here, right? So just to not overly complicate things, just curious to know if the requirement for this, if you would like to be a member of it, has already been discussed or something that you can already share here. And on top of it all, if on top of you having voting rights, if you also have any additional benefits once you fulfill the criteria to be a member of the DAO.
Yeah. So, ultimately what we're doing is decentralizing Superworld into a DAO. And, that's what this token launch is about, and enables, anyone to buy our token, SPWR, which we call superpower, and really gain superpowers in the world around you, in Superworld, right? And, the idea is that the ownership of the tokens will be given to users as rewards for interactions that happen in their world, their map. Also, if they own real estate in a certain area, virtual real estate, they benefit from the interactions that happen in that location from the token. And then, so rewards is a big part of that. We also have staking. So there's a really interesting token utility that we've built in the white paper that allows users to stake to a location that they love. So, similar to on a Google map, you might star a location on your map. Well, in Superworld, you can star a location, but if you also want to earn from that location, you can stake to it. And it means that you'll start earning token by staking to a location, and you'll be able to benefit when others interact in that location, as I mentioned before. But the staking rewards that you're generating will also become available to the business that you're staking to. So they'll get a message that they've earned, let's say, $50 in rewards that they can spend in Superworld, and they just have to connect their credit card to Superworld and be able to use that $50 credit from the staking, but they can also spend on other marketing services and attract more customers, similar to how they attracted you and others that have staked to that business. And so we're creating a decentralized approach for anyone to bring businesses on board Superworld utilizing their staking mechanisms, which is very exciting because it allows users to bring on their favorite businesses and actually earn when that business starts spending on marketing services and other services. You, as the that staked that business and brought them on board, you'll be able to earn from the spend that business makes on the platform. So you're responsible for bringing them on board, but you're also benefiting because you're earning as they start spending. And so there's, you're a foodie. There's probably lots of places in the world that you like to eat, and maybe some of those businesses, and now you can support them. And you benefit by supporting them. They benefit by you supporting them, and they join the Superworld platform. And so we've figured out some really interesting utilities in our token utility that I think are going to be very, very important as we continue to expand. And then governance is another part of that. In terms of the token utility. So as you own more token, you'll be able to have more governance on the platform. And then the final thing is payments. So we're launching a creator platform on Superworld. which will enable creators to sell services and experiences in real world locations, physical experiences and services like, maybe they're doing a walking tour, or they're going to be a chef, or they're going to do some, a yoga class or something, like a physical experience where you meet someone. And they can also do digital experiences. Maybe they're making content that they'd sell to you in a course. Maybe they again have premium content that you can access at a location. Maybe it's some subscription. So there's a variety of ways that creators can earn digitally and physically, and the token will also be integrated for payments to those creators. So you can earn rewards and also use the token as payments. So lots coming with the token utility, and yeah, we're very excited about it.
Perfect. I appreciate the detailed answer here. As I mentioned in the introduction, the sky is the limit. And I'd say no matter what type of user you are, you're going to find your place in Superworld. So much appreciated. Thank you so much for the clarity here. And let's just continue the party with some of the community questions as well, just so we can cover the majority of the ground today. So you guys know how this goes. The first one is going to be on the hot seat. The Kryptonian, you're going to be the first one. So better make your questions count, better make the great ones. Hopefully you're having an awesome day so far, and the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Hey, Wayne, how's it going?
Fantastic. How about on your side? All good?
Not too shabby, can't complain. So, I've been listening to the AMA, and I have to say, Superworld, you guys are quite the big deal with all the things you've said, with all the things you've done prior to today. But my question about this project is about the general sentiment and lackluster view on the NFT and the metaverse concept, especially in this current market climate. And I'm sure you're aware that AI has been the wave and money printer right now, and NFTs have become more or less in the shadows and labeled next to worthless pixels with no substance or actual use. But your platform and utility seems to have plans to utilize the NFT a lot in its ecosystem. So I just want to ask, how are you going to show the world that NFTs are more than just worthless pieces of art with your platform?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And to be clear, a lot of people, when they hear the name Superworld, they come up with the understanding, oh, wait, this is a metaverse, right? And a metaverse that they think about is a digital, virtual world with avatars, like a video game environment, right? And Superworld is not that at all. We're a map. We're a map of the world. So how many people here use Google Maps? I would guess 100% of you, and I would guess 100% of you use it at least a few times a week, if not every day. Superworld is a map. We're a map of the world. And so if you have the impression that we're a metaverse, that is the wrong impression of what Superworld is. That word gets thrown around a lot with Superworld, and again, there's ways to think about what we're doing that could fit that word, but the typical kind of meaning that people assign to that is a virtual world with avatars, like a video game, and that's that's not what we're doing at all. So I would think of it more as like I said, a map, like a Google map. It's like a way to monetize your Google map. So everyone here uses Google, but if you send me your Google map and I click on it and I check out a place you're showing me, you're not monetizing or benefiting from your Google map. Google keeps the search revenue from that interaction. And what we're doing is we're enabling you to benefit from your Google map interactions. And you, by the way, can upload your Google map to Superworld and it'll start monetizing. Now, we are using NFTs in Superworld. We're using actually a lot of technology. We also have integrated AI into Superworld. We're built on Llama. We're looking at a couple of other integrations. We've announced a big partnership with the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance and Singularity Net. So decentralized AI is a big part of the feature set. We've actually, like I said, we've already integrated with Llama, so you can use AI in Superworld already, and you can ask about real world locations. But in terms of the NFT itself, NFTs are a technology, and in the last cycle, in 21 and 22, most people thought of NFTs as artwork, right? And people would create collections with different artwork and sell those. That's not what Superworld is. So Superworld is using that technology to enable you to own a real world location, because it allows anyone to have distinct ownership of an asset. I mean, that's how we're using that technology of a non-fungible token, an NFT. And then, as you said, yeah, the use cases are many. So, again, we're bringing in real world businesses into those locations, and we're enabling you to start monetizing. Now, the reason people want it to be structured as an NFT is because if you, for example, start buying up New York City right now, or Dubai or London or any place in the world, really, and you own those places, and as those places start building value, your assets start gaining value because the user activity happens at those locations. And, people don't want a centralized party controlling who owns those. As we all know, you could lose your Twitter handle if X decides that they need that handle, or your Instagram handle if Meta decides that they need your handle. And in Superworld, we're decentralized. And so one of the ways we're decentralized, besides the token that we're launching, is through digital assets like NFTs that you can own and therefore own parts of Superworld. So hopefully I was able to kind of clarify that in terms of the differences in what we're doing, and by the way, why we've gotten so much traction, what's so interesting about why we're using digital assets in that way, and really the massive opportunity to get involved here.
Yeah, you sure cleared my question. You sure cleared, and you answered it beautifully. I was even about to ask another question, but you still answered my question as well. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kryptonian, for your question. And we're going to keep it moving to Sadiq. Hopefully, you're having an awesome day so far as well. And the floor is all yours. Welcome. Sadiq, whenever you're ready, you can just unmute your microphone.
Absolutely, both. Sorry, apologies. I think my settings actually went back to default. I had to grant permission to my microphone.
No problem. We can hear you loud and clear now, so go for your question.
So yeah, thank you very much, Sarah. And I must say it's a pleasure being a part of the AMA once again. And I want to say great job as well to Superworld speaker. Sorry, I didn't actually quite catch your name. I was just all over the place. So just to be clear about something before I actually go to my question, regarding to the digital world and the super world, and relating them to the real world assets. So I think you kind of mentioned something I just wanted to clarify before I dive into my question, because my question was part of it. I think you mentioned something about if buying a digital world, for instance, buying New York on the metaverse doesn't necessarily mean you're actually buying a plot of land, for instance, in the real world, right? So it just kind of have to do with the activities that actually happen in the outside world, kind of give some impact there on the digital world. Is that correct?
So yeah, that's right. So what we're doing at Superworld is we've created a virtual filter on Earth, and we've divided that filter into 64 billion blocks. And so you can own real world locations in Superworld as part of that filter or that layer, right? And what's interesting about that is that's a digital filter. So again, you benefit from these digital interactions, but those digital interactions could also include interactions where you walk into a restaurant and you give them a QR code and you pay for something, or you walk into a restaurant and you physically check in. And so it's not just digital, it's physical, right? Because it has to do with a physical location. And then the other really interesting thing is, if you're a business that is physical, like maybe you own a piece of real estate, or you own a store or something like that, that business can utilize real world assets technology. So, enabling people to be able to invest fractionally into that property, to be able to visualize a property, a physical property, as a digital twin in a real world location and interact with that physical property in a digital way. Also, to be able to, again, be able to do something. For example, in the DPIN space, decentralized physical infrastructure network space, where there's physical nodes in a location that are visualizable from the map. So there's a digital and a physical interaction. So DPIN is very much that connection of digital and physical. And so to answer your question, even though, the simple way of thinking about it is it's a digital filter on Earth that doesn't have any connection to the actual physical land in that location. And that's true. It can be that. It just, it's a digital layer on Earth. But what we're enabling anyone to do is to start connecting that digital layer with physical interactions. So you go back to Pokemon Go. In Pokemon Go, people are running around in real world locations interacting digitally, and they're able to go into businesses, into a physical environment, and we're able to add ways for them to interact physically in that location. So Foursquare was another company that was very popular, where you checked into a restaurant or a hotel or a location, and so there's this physical interaction. We're taking that to the next level with real world assets and DPIN, and then with physical AI. Again, we're enabling users to be able to understand the environment around them using AI in physical places, as well as to create content using AI that has a digital and a physical interaction. We call it phygital content that has a physical and a digital interaction.
Awesome, beautiful. All right, so I really appreciate that. So in this sense, I don't want to take too much time because I go through questions, so the really short ones actually. So in this sense, yeah, since every interactions we actually make, in the actual world that has to do with, should I say the digital world, right, on the metaverse. So say for instance, I have to, walk into a restaurant and order something. It actually makes some sort of monetary, or should I say, impact on the property on the digital world, isn't it? So this actually kind of give me, since with project like this, it's a pretty huge thing, isn't it? And I think it's quite interacting in all the best possible ways, as far as I can see. Now, in the digital, in the real world, when it comes to businesses and other stuff like that, there are cities or states or businesses that actually incur taxes when it comes to, building the world and, making a business, or, the real world thing, right? Since you guys have actually intended to make it, almost real life, should I say, make the experience almost real life. So it kind of brings me to this concern as to when it comes to, say, I build a business or buy or own a plot that, say, place like New York, for instance, or Washington. There's so many businesses that actually incur taxes on a monthly basis. Now, since I don't know if you guys probably might have, you know, sorry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So say I own a business, I walk into a restaurant and I actually own a share, and then I actually have this same restaurant on my digital node, right? So the taxes that actually go on there, or the profit or losses and things actually happen there on the real world, does it have any impact on my digital asset as well? I just want to know. So if I told there's anything like that when it comes to taxes, how do you guys intend to cover up things like that, unless of course there is nothing like that at all on the in digital assets?
Yeah, no, that actually doesn't really apply to what we're doing. So it would, think of like Facebook. If you created a Facebook page for your business, you still pay taxes on whatever your business generates in terms of revenue. It has nothing to do with what revenue is generated from your Facebook page, right? That's just a way of interacting with your business digitally. So if someone interacts with your business digitally, if someone interacts with your business physically, if you're getting benefits from these interactions and that converts into revenue for your business, the taxes come from that revenue, and that's the same traditional way that revenue is calculated for tax purposes.
Oh, beautiful. All right then. So just to quickly run it down. Sorry, the last. So fine. I think I actually get that. Now you're talking about monetization and ownership. I believe you did mention something about that. I think I found that on your platform, your website as well, right?
Yeah, monetization and ownership. Yeah, that's right. Of virtual real
Right.
estate.
All right. So I mean, so I do also understand that you guys actually made it possible for a person to be able to, build content or experiences around, certain lands in the super world, like maybe selling tickets, for concerts or NFT performances and stuff like that, or collaborations, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, you can monetize in Superworld across a variety
Awesome.
of categories. So as an experience, ticketing, events, content, there's lots of
Awesome.
ways. Yeah.
Awesome. So this is my concern or question rather. So I was wondering, say for instance, a person comes to shield a ticket for a concert, and I mean, in the real world, we have these scenarios where, for instance, a celebrity wants to host an event, and tickets are sold out, and all of a sudden, they say, okay, the event is no longer holding stuff, and now people already paid, for this ticket, and that's it, the money's gone. So I was wondering, there might be two things actually that could be possible here since we're dealing with the digital world. First off, I was wondering, maybe an escrow where, for instance, if any unforeseen events like that happens, maybe you guys have an escrow where the money or the funds is not paid already to whomever is selling the ticket, because I think this is actually going to, bring down the platform really bad, because I mean, people might just come on the platform to scam people after selling up their tickets, and then they go away without actually hosting a concert or a concert, sorry, a concert, right? Right, and they end up scamming people. Or I was also thinking perhaps you guys may actually make it possible where sorry, what am I reading about? So yeah, this is it. So maybe an escrow where you guys may actually secure individuals from losing their phones, or if anything like that happens to, occur, is there going to be some sort of refund system where people are able to get their money back since they didn't get the value for what they actually paid for in such circumstances?
Sure. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just to understand, these events that we're talking about, these are physical events. So these are like real events, like going to a concert at an event stadium. This is about, going to a theater show or sporting event. These are real world events. And so one category of these events is similar to what's happening already. The other events could be digital events. So, think of it like a class, where people join a class, and pay a ticket to join a digital class. Now, you're right. If the person doesn't actually hold the class, then that person is liable for the funds that were collected for the ticket sales. And, just as any platform, I mean, there's nothing different that we're doing here. It's an e-commerce transaction. So if someone bought a ticket right now on Ticketmaster to an event, you're dealing with the same exact issue. We're integrated with Sports Illustrated ticketing, and they have 250,000 events around the world. And so the same process applies to these events, because these are the same events that are happening in real world locations.
Oh, so what that means is your platform is actually handling the ticket sales, not an individual. Is that correct then?
No, we're partnering with companies that sell tickets to events, as well as we're creating functionality for creators to create their own events and sell tickets. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that the nature of the events and the nature of the ticketing business is not anything new in terms of what we're doing. It's the same thing that's happening in terms of ticket sellers to events. So anything that exists in those markets already will be part of this market, because we work with partners to do these events that are already established in the ticketing business.
All right, awesome, beautiful. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
very much. I apologize for taking too much time, so very nice. Thank you for your patience as well. Thank you for
Yeah.
answering my
Thank
questions.
you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. Thanks.
No problem at all, Sadiq. Thank you very much for the questions. And we're going to keep it moving to 2 or 3 more. So, Mazzy Mike, you're going to be the next. So, hopefully, you have an awesome day so far. And the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Hi guys, how you doing, Radiance? Good evening.
Hey, fantastic. How about you? How's it going?
I'm fine. I'm really good. So I just had a question. I did want to ask, but hearing you, respond to some of the questions, I just got some ideas and I wanted to share. So when you say we should think of it as the Google Maps of the world and Google Earth of the world, I'm thinking how we can monetize this. And don't get me wrong, you can do this project without thinking about monetization and revenue. But I also see a big opening where people can start to buy in and then make some money. So think of this where you have like special events, concerts. So you don't wait for businesses to approach you, and be like a concert or maybe a football match, a very high.
Mike, sorry for cutting you off, but your microphone is cutting off as well.
Is it better now?
Not really. Try again if it's possible.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, I'm so sorry about that. So I'm saying, so we don't wait for businesses to approach you and tell you they have special things that they want to bring to the platform. On your own, you look out for events, concerts, football matches, really high stuff, and maybe you buy a seat and then you partner with VR companies or people that make headsets and augmented reality devices, where you can get seats for those events, and then you are streaming live. So people get to subscribe on the platform, get to subscribe to Superworld to be able to view what is going on there in like real time and in some sort of an augmented or virtual reality form. That way you are making money for yourself and you are still getting experience based off of Superworld VR technology. I mean, that's one way for you to make money, and that way you are also partnering with people who have this technology in terms of VR and AR. I don't know if you've thought about this or if this is a possibility for the project and what your thoughts are concerning it.
Yeah, no, I mean, VR, AR is a big fundamental aspect of the technology. However, again, it's on a map. It's on a Google map. So you can go to a real world location, maybe the center of your city, and you can pull out your phone and see something there in augmented reality. Or you could click on it and go into virtual reality if that's what you prefer. So the point is this is an overlay on Earth, but it doesn't have to be just VR, AR. It could be audio. It could just be transactions. It's a data layer on Earth in real world locations. So the way to think about it is, you have a profile on Instagram, and it's a profile that has lots of photos and videos on a page. And I flip through your profile and I watch your photos and videos on Instagram as an example. The difference here is, what if your profile covered Earth and I actually was able to interact in real world locations, just as we are now, be able to walk around, do things, but I'm in your profile. I'm in the real world, but I'm in your world. And so part of that is augmented reality and virtual reality, but it doesn't have to be. It could be that I just go into a restaurant, a real restaurant, not a digital restaurant. Just to be clear, it's not a digital recreation of the restaurant. It's the real restaurant that I'm walking into and I'm checking into it. Do you understand? Now, if the restaurant wanted to create a VR version of the restaurant, they could, but that's not what Superworld's about. Superworld's about the real place. It's about the real world.
I think that part, I do get you. I'm just thinking other ways where the experience can even be more better. But then I get that part. But one other thing I must add is also, have you thought about ads on the platform, maybe as one other way for you to also make some money off it? Maybe businesses put their ads just in case I go into a restaurant and I check in. Will I see some ads? Maybe the restaurants have checked in before, or somebody else had been there, or restaurants is subscribed to the platform, or maybe some sort of AI suggestion to tell me, suggest some ads that are food related, and then that way, there's ads on the platform for you to also make money. Because me, I'm all about utilities that earn people money. But once you make money as projects, that's the only way investors also get something of in terms of rewards and revenue models, sharing models.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, advertising is a big part of our revenue model and business model. So ads, e-commerce, digital commerce, gaming, real world assets, bookings, DPIN, these are all areas that we will monetize. And so, yeah, advertising and suggestions is huge. And again, just to be clear, this is not just about restaurants, right? Just to be clear, it's about anything. Think of this as YouTube for phygital content. You can upload phygital content to any location on Earth, and I can come to Superworld and I could search it, find it, and interact with it. And the other thing, by the way, I didn't mention, and I should to everyone just to understand, is Superworld just got chosen by Coinbase as one of the top startups in North America. We were chosen as one of the top 50 companies globally to be building on Base. I just spent a week with them in Brazil and at DevConnect in Argentina. So we're working very closely with the Coinbase team. We're launching on Base. And like I said, we've been chosen as, I think there were only 14 companies chosen from North America that are building on Base, and we're part of Base batches. And so Superworld is one of those companies that's particularly doing what we're doing. And so we're very excited about that. So again, Mike, I think your suggestions are really awesome. And, I think we're looking at all of those areas to monetize. And with Coinbase, they're looking to democratize digital assets as well. And so there's going to be more and more use cases for how we can utilize Superworld. So we're very excited about that partnership.
Once again, congrats on the big fit, and also thank you so much, Rainland, for the opportunity. Good luck, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the questions, Mike. And we're going to keep on moving to the last community question on today's session. So, Cece, you're going to be on the second hot seat. Better make your questions count. Better make them great ones. Hopefully, you're having an awesome day so far. And the floor is all yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Raylan. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. So, first, I want to say congratulations on your, list of companies from Coinbase listed. That's an interesting one, actually, showing that you guys want to build something remarkable in the world, right? In the world of AI.
Thank you.
Well done. All right, so I want to go to my question now, and I want to talk about the technical aspect. Sir, I'm outside. You're going to hear lots of car noises and bike noises. Sir, I'm outside. But I want to talk about the technical part of it, all right? So everybody knows about Google Maps and how if you're not using a very big phone, Google Maps may be slow on your phone, all right? So how do you manage latency issues, data issues, storage problems whenever I try to buy an asset on the Superworld, maps, right? And the search, how when I go to the Superworld area, and then I want to search for a video or photo that you've integrated, you know, the speed, concerning how I search for it. How do you manage that in different devices, maybe PCs or mobile phones and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've tried to optimize everything across devices, and we continue to do that. So again, this is we're currently on web across desktop and mobile, and we also have a mobile app. So yeah, optimization is very important for us, and we want to make sure that you have a good experience when you're working in Superworld or looking at Superworld. And, I'd say maps are probably, regardless of what kind of phone you have, generally maps can be pretty light, versus other types of applications. And I think we've tried to keep those very optimized in terms of latency as well. So it's something that we continually work on anytime we come out with new features. It's something that we'll continue to focus on too, just because we want anyone to be able to use Superworld and make it really easy.
That's a very good one. At least it helps a lot of people see that you're not just focused on trying to make money off Superworld, but actually you're focused on how users effectively use the platform in any device any way possible. It's a pretty good one actually. And then the graphics also is one of it. But like you said, uh, actually there's a time I was using Google Earth, right? So I wanted to map something, and then I was using Google Earth. Zooming into um, one of the locations was quite difficult, even using my laptop, all right? And then I don't know how you plan to do it, right? What service you plan to use, if you're integrating the Google Map service, right, for the easy access to when you want to zoom into a location, or the movement of the maps, right? What service do you plan to use, in order for that to be effective? And if you're using a Google service, is it paid? Is it free? Do we have access to an open source API that we could be able to use? When maybe we want to buy assets and we want to resell them for future purpose. Run us through it.
Yeah, so we're built on Google Maps, and we're also built on Mapbox. We're also integrated with Bing Maps. We have a number of integrations, so we're pretty map agnostic. To be clear, you don't have to be just on Google Maps.
Mhm.
We want to be able to go across any map, and that fits our vision across technology in general. We've built across platforms. We've integrated with Google, Apple, Meta, Niantic. We've built on Ethereum, Polygon, Base, Numbers protocol. So again, we're building very cross-platform and very agnostic. So we're open to building on whatever is the best.
All right, that's cool. That's cool. Sorry, can I throw in the last question, Raylan?
Yeah, go for it. No problem at all.
All right, thank you very much. One thing I wanted to talk about also was the payment systems, right? So imagine I buy an asset and then I want to make payments, right, online. Well, you have different payment systems, obviously. That's going to allow different countries to pay into, right? So one thing I wanted to talk about was the effectiveness of using a virtual card. For example, in a lot of countries, especially some countries, they have other applications that support virtual cards, virtual dollar cards, and applications that you don't need a virtual card. You can actually pay directly. But here's the thing: integrating those virtual dollar cards in your platform or somewhat platform, perhaps your AI or maybe the programming on the interface may reject or decline those cards, right? So do you have just one standard payment system that accepts in different parts of the world? If you don't have it, it's not going to work on the platform.
We've tried to we've internationalized Superworld. So, again, if you think of wallets, for example, we're across a lot of wallets, um, uh, MetaMask, Coinbase, Wallet Connect, which I think has like 200 or 300 wallets available. We also have a Superworld wallet, which is powered by Privy. And so again, we've tried to build everything in a way that is really global, internationalized, and we continue to do that with everything that we're building at Superworld. So for us, it's really important that people can access the platform and make payments, and whether that's using crypto or using fiat, we want to make it super simple. So yeah, go ahead and try it, and let me know. But if you're, for example, looking at buying real estate, there's lots of ways to do it. And as we start integrating more payment functionality, Again, we're very close to Coinbase, and they're doing a lot of things very globally as well. I just met with all of their global teams last week, and so they have solutions in every market.
Oh, cool. That's it's a really good one actually. Your answers show that a lot of these questions you're already prepared to answer them because your team is already working on it or have already worked on it, and it's a pretty good one actually to see how trying to make this available to different parts of the world, the country, I guess, and yeah, I'd say well done. Yeah, I
Thank
actually
you.
like the project and I saw it. It's a really good one.
Thank you.
And thank you, Renans, for the opportunity. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the question, Cece. And with that, here is where we're going to be ending off today's session. So just wanted to say thank you very much for being as clear as possible, for the wonderful conversation, as well as answering all of the community questions. Wishing you the best of luck. And of course, to our community, thank you very much for tuning in. And we're going to catch you on the next one. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and cheers.
Thank you.